What's going on, everybody? It's Aaron Duncan here, back again with another Panthers video. And today we're talking about Brian Burns and his breaking out party against the Chargers. But you guys know what I do here, man. This is unnecessary bluntness sports talk. The channel, I might not tell you what you want to hear, but I'm definitely going to tell you what you need to hear. And I give recap and analysis of the NFL. But I show a little extra love to the Panthers. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and the bell icon because I drop all kind of videos. I do live streams on Wednesdays and post game on Sundays. So you don't want to miss those. And if you want to get there on time, you got to hit that bell icon so you don't miss anything. But let's go ahead and get into this video because Brian Burns, like I said, he had a coming out party against the Chargers. He really made his presence felt. He only had one sack, but he had that sack fumble. He had multiple pressures. He made plays in the backfield. He was all over the field, and he's really seemed to have made that big jump this year. And for some reason, I know he got hurt last year in his rookie year. He had that hot start, but he gained some weight this year. And Phil Snow and Matt Rhule are using him in different ways when it comes to the line of scrimmage. We had some questions about with the Panthers switching from a 3-4 with Ron Rivera to a 4-3 and multiple defense with Matt Rhule and Phil Snow. How would Brian Burns be able to hold up against the run game because he was 250-something pounds last year? I know he bulked up in the offseason to 260, and it's made a difference because he kept some of his speed and he's looked a lot stronger. So we're going to go on the film and look at just how great he was against the Chargers, man. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get into it. But hey, real quick, down below in the comments, let me know what you think about Brian Burns. You know, a lot of people compare him to like Von Miller, like as his speed and get off around the edge coming off, and he's starting to make that leap. Do you think he can be that elite? Do you think he has a high ceiling? Let me know what you think about Brian Burns down below. So on this first play, Brian Burns is lined up on the left side here, and he's going to really use his speed to get straight to Justin Herbert around the corner and just pretty much beat this guy around the corner with speed. They used two right tackles on the day, but he pretty much got the best of both of them with that speed rush. So you're going to see him come off the line and really look at it, get around that corner. Justin Herbert's taking a deep drop. And if he a veteran quarterback, maybe can feel that and is going to step up. But Justin Herbert's young. So Brian Burns is just going to use his speed to get all the way around the corner. Look at that. Justin Herbert's pretty tall, but Brian Burns has long arms, so he uses that to reach out. Brian Burns hits the ball before he makes impact. That's how long his arms are in order to get that strip sack. Ball comes out crazy. That's one turnover for the Carolina defense, man. You got to love it. So here's another play with Brian Burns lined up at left end, going against a different right tackle this time. And you can see Brian Burns is in that wide nine. He's very, very wide. Wants to use that speed to get around that corner. He used a speed rush pretty much all day. He pretty much wanted to see if these guys were going to stop it. And until they could, he was going to keep going around the corner. So this time you're going to see him get a long run around the hoop and get to Justin Herbert, almost similar to the play before. And look, Justin Herbert's arms in the air. He kind of feels it. And remember what happened last time? Brian Burns tries to get the same play. He gets there pretty fast. But let's go back a little bit before we get there. But look at this. The dude barely can touch Brian. Barely can touch him. Brian turns that corner. Look at those long arms reaching out. Justin Herbert pumps. I have no idea how Brian missed that play. But you're glad to see him get there. Let's watch it one more time. Brian gets off that edge pretty good. And comes around the corner, swipes the hands. How does he miss that? I have no idea, but you love to seeing this guy get there using that speed rush. Like I said, it was two different guys that tried to block him, and it pretty much kept working all day. So I really like this play, even though it's not a sack for Brian. This really shows me what he can do because you need to have counter moves. You can't have one go-to move that's deadly like a speed rush that he's been using all day. But what happens when they start to double team you or they get help or something like that? You got to be able to have a counter move. And Brian Burns put that on this play, and this is one of the most beautiful plays I've ever seen him. If he can put this into his repertoire and mix it in 3 or 4 times a game, look at that spin move. Oh my gosh! If he could put that into the repertoire during the game, this could be deadly. Look how nice this spin move is. He gets out wide to set this guy up. The offensive tackle knows he's been getting beat on the outside all day. Brian Burns sets him up, and then look at that. Look at that dip. As soon as he tries to punch him, he swipes his hand and spins off. Look at that. Look, using that arm right there to shield him away from him. Fortunately, the backup came and knocked him out the way. Justin Herbert was able to get it off. But if you go all the way back, look at this move, man. This is a hell of a move. So he comes out of that stance, like I said. Look, the dude's already popping up, overset. Look at that gate. The gate is already open. You can tell. Look at the difference between the left tackle and the right tackle. This guy, he's a little bit more square because he knows Marquise Haynes isn't as fast. He can set his feet. This dude knows that Brian Burns is trying to get around that corner, so he's already opening the floodgates. When not square. When you're not square, you leave that inside zone right here susceptible, and Brian Burns gave a quick, nice counter move, boom, to get inside. And luckily, this guy saw it coming and was able to help Brian, get some help on Brian, and make sure he didn't get to Justin Herbert as the quarterback. But you love to see the counter move from Brian Burns. So this next clip is Brian Burns on the right side. And once you start having a good day like he's been having and getting to the quarterback and putting a lot of pressure on him, the offense takes notice. Phil Snow tried to move him around as you see he's going right to left, but the Chargers still found ways to try to chip him and double team him with tight ends and running backs and stuff like that. However, when you have another guy on the defensive line like Derek Brown, who also gets double teamed because he's big and strong, there's only so many guys that they can leave in the block. If you have 5 linemen and maybe an extra blocker, you have 2 guys going to Derek Brown and 2 guys going to Brian Burns. That's 4. Somebody else is going to be one-on-one. That means somebody else is going to win. And this time, F.A. Obata is the guy that's going to win. I know he gets a lot of flack because he got cut during the preseason, but he's in the rotation and he has making some plays during these games. So watch F.A. on this play after Brian sets him up. Brian's going to get double teamed, so he's not going to do a ton, but watch what that does for F.A. F.A.'s one-on-one. He swipes the hands away and gets to the quarterback. Justin Herbert has to rush it and get rid of that ball. We'll watch that play again. Like I said, you're going to see Brian Burns get double teamed initially off the block. Look, coming out, boom. Derek Brown, double team. Brian Burns, double teamed over here on the right. But look at F.A. F.A. is going to win. F.A. wins right here. Look at that win right there. He's already got the guy leaning and whiff. F.A. is going to swipe his hands away and get to the quarterback. Look at that. You're getting hits on the quarterback. The guy just got the ball off. And look who's lurking right here. Jeremy Chin. About to jump that route and make a play on it. Almost an interception. You know what I'm saying? That's what pressure does. Pressure gives you opportunity to make plays like that. And with Brian Burns' impact throughout the whole game, like I said, it set up other guys like F.A. Obata to be one-on-one. And when guys can win one-on-one, especially on the interior, you get to that quarterback pretty quick. So whenever there's a guy that the offensive line cannot handle, you try different things. You try misdirection to get the runner one way and going the other to make them kind of sit and think a little bit. That way they hesitate and can't get back in the backfield that fast. This time Brian Burns is going to be lined up right here on the right side of our defense, left side of the offense, and the Chargers are going to try to get a little freaky dicky with their play calling, but Brian Burns' speed rush is just that effective. Look how fast he gets back there. They try to block him with a wide receiver. That ain't gonna work. Gets to the quarterback, creates a mess. It's a fumble. We almost get the play, almost create the 5th turnover of the day for the Panthers defense. We'll watch that one more time. Brian Burns, he just happened to speed rush, but then it ended up turning into a running play. Good things happen when you get to that football. Boom. It's a meeting at the quarterback. Look at that. Almost gets the turnover there. What a lot of people like to do with these speed rushers is just run at them because sometimes they're lighter in the pants, especially a guy like Brian Burns. I know he gained some weight this offseason, but he's still a little thin and a little light for a DN, but that's because he's a fast guy off the edge. So a lot of teams will try to run at them and get physical, make them get physical, and sometimes the run game can be their weakness. Brian Burns has very much improved in that area, and look at him get off that line right here. That's a scary sight for a running back when you're running down the line of scrimmage. You got Brian Burns right there waiting on you, and Derek Brown right behind you. You cut it up and tackle for a loss, my dude. So let's go back all the way to the beginning here. Watch Brian get off. That get off. Look, he beats the guy around the corner again. And look at him already upfield before the guy even gets the ball. Brian Burns is 2 yards in the backfield. And look at Derek Brown. He's getting back there too. Big man getting back there too, hustling. And it's a meeting at the running back. They come together and make a play. This is what a fast, aggressive defensive line can do for you. And I like what we've seen from these guys so far. So everything on Sunday wasn't sunshine and roses for Brian Burns. I got to give him a little bit of, I got to come in and talk about the little negatives, or not even really negatives, just places he can improve on, because these are the type of things offenses are going to start doing to him because he's been such a factor. And I just showed you that they tried to run at him, and you're going to do it again because Brian Burns is going to get so far upfield, they're pretty much just going to run exactly where he left. And they end up getting a big run because the Panthers aren't good at tackling this year for some reason. But we'll watch that again. Brian Burns, his get off is so crazy. And look how wide he is because of the tight end being there. He gets upfield, but look at his huge void created. And the draws coming right underneath where he left. Big open spaces. He can bounce to the outside because Brian's gone. There's nobody contained. So that's a negative that Brian's gonna have to worry about and work on, being a little bit more disciplined in his rush. But you love to see him getting upfield and love to see that the offenses are paying attention that he's doing that and want to make adjustments for him. So I mentioned about Phil Snow moving Brian Burns around, and a lot of times when we go to this three-man front, they're not taking Brian Burns off the field. They're not leaving him on the line of scrimmage. They're putting him out in space at linebacker. And you'll see him right here lined up in front of this these three wide receivers right here as the outside linebacker. And he doesn't have much experience dropping in the coverage. He didn't do much of that at Florida State, but I know with the athleticism, the range, and the size he has, this is a good way to make sure that Brian Burns stays on the field. He can get a little bit of break because he's not rushing the quarterback every play, so he's not expanding a ton of energy by guarding a little bit of space. So when Phil Snow wants to give Brian Burns a rest, instead of taking him out for an extended period of time, he just puts him at linebacker to help catch his breath. And this time, it's not really a negative, but this will be something that Brian Burns will develop a little bit more as he get more experience, because I want to see better play recognition. When you see four wide receivers go to the left side, it's probably going to be either a screen or they want to get the guy on the backside here at the bottom one-on-one. So Brian Burns needs to be a little bit smarter recognizing that. He drops back and he kind of looks at the quarterback and doesn't realize the double team is coming. They get to him. He ends up not being able to get around the block. And then Keenan Allen is off to the races because he went to the spot that Brian Burns actually vacated. So let's run that back. We'll see Brian Burns right here. Like I said, I can't really fault him. You know what I'm saying? He tried to get to the ball, and he just wants half a split second faster play recognition. Once he gets a little bit more experience playing out in space, and he'll be fine. But that's just a small negative. Not really too much about that. Now let's take another look at Brian Burns off the ball. This time he's going to be actually in the box because the Chargers have a tighter formation. Why we stayed in this three-man front, even though they had a little heavier personnel, I'm not sure. But you'll see Brian Burns right here, outside linebacker. And like I said, a lot of teams, when they have a speed rusher or a light guy, they're going to try to run right at him, and that's what they do right here. Brian Burns, you want to see him. He's not used to being off ball. It's a little bit different playing linebacker. You have to kind of diagnose the play and be able to take on blocks and use that length that he has, because he has good length. So he can kind of use the same technique that he uses on the line to kind of extend the arms and shed the block. But this time, he kind of struggles to recognize, and he struggles to get off the block, tries the arm tackle, but misses that. We'll run it back one more time so you can see it. The running back comes. Backside, he stays in his gap. That's a good job. But once the ball comes back to you, you want to see the guy's right there in his face. You want to see Brian get off that block and make that tackle, because the guy runs right by him, ends up getting a few more yards after he gets by Brian. So that's just something that he'll improve on as he plays more off the line of scrimmage instead of being on the line of scrimmage as a D lineman. But as you can see, Brian Burns had a huge impact on the game, because once he started beating those guys, they started chipping them, double teaming them, and it started opening up room for everybody else like I showed you. And if we get another couple guys to step up on that line, on that D line, we can have something special. And it's been a while since the Panthers had an X factor on that line of scrimmage with somebody that the defense actually has to pay attention to and pay special attention to at that. You know, we racked up some sack numbers the past few years, but we never really had consistent, dependable, dominant force coming out the edge. And Brian Burns only in his second year, especially after being beat up a little bit last year, not even get to play all that much. He seems to have made a giant leap, and I love to see it because this guy was looking beastly on that film, as you've seen. So you guys make sure you give the video a like, and make sure you guys are subscribed if you're not subscribed. But without further ado, I'm signing off with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. I'll see you next time. Peace.